But as mom, we're supposed to know everything. How do we not feel that way? We just, that's the way we're built, right? Mm-hmm. And the sleepless nights and the tears by the buckets because I just can't do this and I can't fix it and I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong.
Right.
Give me some insight, God, please, because I'm out of ideas. I've tried everything I can think of.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not fixable. And then there's a whole grieving process that comes with that, Peggy.
Yeah.
We've prematurely grieved. Some things we thought would happen, it didn't, thankfully. And then, there's grief that's real when you have a child that may not be able to live independently. Mm-hmm. And, you don't adopt or give birth to a child and imagine them living with you forever, unable to drive, unable to hold a traditional job. Mm-hmm. That's not the dream. No one asks for that. But I don't know, millions end up with children like that.
A lot. Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands. I mean, at any given time, of course, millions over the ages have children who will never hit, quote unquote, launch the way everybody else does.
Right.
How do you not view that as a failure? How does your child not view that as a failure? How do you help someone move into adulthood when they can't do any of the things that mark that passing of movement from childhood into adulthood? That's a grieving process that the parent goes through and often goes through at the same time that the child is going through it, because maybe they just got a diagnosis and now they go, oh, this is forever. It's not going to get better. Yeah. Oh, no. Mm-hmm. The parent sometimes suspects. I don't think too often we're completely caught off guard. I mean, you'd probably be a pretty inattentive parent to not have a suspicion.
But you have that hope out there. And
of course. And that's when the hope goes away, right?
Right. Yes. And that's where the grief comes in.
Well, and the grief comes in, but then what happens is you go through that grieving process. And interestingly, and I do think God helps us with this, but we can have new hope embedded in us once, but it doesn't happen unless you accept what's real and true. Real and true keeps you holding on to hope that at one time felt practical and real, and new information tells you is impractical and not going to be realistic.
Yes.
The longer you want to hang on to that, the longer your grieving process is going to be and the more pain you're going to be in. Yeah. Attaching ourselves to ideas of what we want the world to look like and our children to turn out like. I mean, that happens whether you have a kid with special needs or not.
Right.
Lots of people have a child go, that's going to be my doctor. Foolish, but we do. We do. Or we see them get a baseball ball at 3 and we go, hey, maybe they're going to be a pro baseball player. Some parents go there and they go there too far. Most of us don't, but so those dreams can be dashed too when they turn out to be average. Right. Average kids can disappoint too, and that's the parent's fault. That's not, that's not the child's.
Yeah.
Most of us really do have average kids, right? We have gifts in some area, but across the board, we don't all have exceptional children. We have just like but so, we can grieve the loss whether we have a child with special needs or not. But with a child with special needs, it's critically important that we move through that process at the pace we need to, because you can't really rush that. You're faking it if you are, but that you get out the other side and then you start thinking, okay, so this is what we have. What new dreams are actually possible?
Yeah.
They may not be probable even. They may even still be a stretch. What new dreams can our children live into? For example, my son, who wants to be a pastor in the worst way, and it for a long time would not accept that he didn't have the executive functioning skills to run something like that. There's no way.
Right.
But then he gets, okay, this is real. But then together we began to collaborate, brainstorm. So what can happen? He is going to seminary online right now. He's already passed 4 classes, very high college level classes. He can't do more than one at a time. He can't handle that. But he's doing really exceptionally well one at a time. And he says, I know I can never run a church, but I can preach. Maybe I can be invited and get pulpit supply someplace. Maybe I can have ministry with other people like me. And hence then he went on to write the book that he's just about finished with. And I can minister. I can help other people. I got to get over. And what's interesting is we had tons of conversation around ego and letting go. And he, now at 22, he's quite emotionally mature in that sense and recognizes, oh, that's my ego talking. That doesn't need to be part of this. That's not what God wants. God wants me to help people wherever I am with whatever I have. Ego is about me standing up in front of a church and saying I'm a pastor and I run it. That's not actually what God calls any of us to do.
Yeah.
People feel
Exactly.
it to call it that way, but God calls all of us to minister. And, so altering the dream, finding threads of the dreams that can be had realistically and lived into. Somebody may not ever be able to be a veterinarian, but they might be able to handle being a vet tech or own a dog walking and grooming business. Or, it's taking it and then finding where you can grab onto the hope. It still has the spark of what the original dream was.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
It's a hard process. And honestly, the kids aren't going to be able to do that. The parents need to help them do that.
Yeah, you have to guide them.
You do. And not only because they have a disability, but because the truth is, all of our kids with challenges and special needs or not, they don't know the vast array of things that are out there. They know the big titles. I could be a doctor, a nurse, a fireman, they know some of those things, but they don't get that in addition to the postman is the back end sorter, and then there's the manager, then there's counter helper, and then there's, the guys that work at delivery with the shipping. Yeah. We know all that stuff.
Exactly. Yes.
We probably understand the threads that exist where our kids don't. And can help them pull those out and do something with that.